Those Arkansas farmers crying up and down the timeline are killing me because they just discovered that racism and hate is very expensive. You voted for Trump for no reason because you could have taken 2 seconds out of your day to look up the policies that would directly affect you. As a farmer, why are you voting for somebody that's going to implement the stupidest tariffs? Why are you voting for somebody that is gutting infrastructure? Why are you voting for somebody that is going to have your land basically taken? I'm telling you, congratulations, and you effed around and found out.
So there's a lot of MAGA Republicans who are regretting their vote and I guess wanting some kind of sympathy, like this guy whose wife wrote a bad check in 2015 and now they're revoking her green card. And, Trump, if he had listened throughout the campaign over and over, said that if you violate immigration law, which she did, you're going to get kicked out. That makes you a criminal. Additionally, these Arkansas farmers, who are now going bankrupt because they can't sell their soybeans to China. And this is the exact same thing he did during his last term, where he screwed over the farmers. A bunch of them declared bankruptcy, and they did a huge government bailout of like $25 billion. You know what I say? These people deserve the consequences of their actions, good and hard. They should get no sympathy. They should get no thought. They should get absolutely no bailout. And any Democrat who's even thinking about bailing them out, it should not be voted for and should be voted against. We deserve to lose if we're even planning on doing that.
So farmers in Arkansas, again, farmers around the United States are complaining that it's too expensive, that their farms are not going to survive, that their children and their children's children may not be able to take over the family business.
MAGA got tricked again, fooled, whatever you want to call it. We are going to help bail out Argentina. Their stock market was crashing. Their peso was crashing. So the U.S. Treasury is going to intervene to help prop them up. We are going to help them before we help farmers who are being hurt by Trump's stupid trade war. Farmers all across this country are suffering because nobody's buying our crops, but we are going to bail out Argentina. They voted for America first, and they're getting Americans last. Again, you were tricked. Trump has done nothing but trick you guys. Hopefully, lesson learned finally, right? He's tricked you. This is what you voted for. This is what people voted for. America last, not America first. You have a voice, use it.
Farmers are going bankrupt in waves, right? We see that. But here's the thing. The very man that most of them voted for lit half the match. And every time a family farm dies, somehow it's the billionaires and corporations walking away with more land. You think that's a coincidence? Let's start with the trade war in 2018. Trump slapped tariffs on China. Soybean exports gone. Prices crashed. And farmers sat on mountains of crops that they couldn't sell. Then came the bailouts. $28 billion in so-called aid. But look at the receipts, right? The top 10% of farms swallowed most of that money. Small family-owned farms? Pennies. Folks in Arkansas and the Midwest saw their neighbors lose land, all while mega operations cashed checks. And if we fast forward to now, Trump's promise of more help, it sounded real nice on stage, huh? But the structure has not changed. The policies tilt towards whoever's the biggest, not whoever's struggling. And when those farms fold, the land doesn't vanish, it gets scooped up. Bill Gates owns over 240,000 acres. BlackRock, foreign companies, hedge funds, all buying dirt cheap. Meanwhile, Trump's administration cut back on antitrust enforcement. That meant that seeding chemical giants kept jacking up the input prices. So farmers were squeezed on both ends, paying more to plant and getting less when they sold. In the safety net, Trump gutted programs like the Conservation Stewardship Program. That rewarded small-scale sustainability, while doubling down on subsidies that benefit corporate-scale operations. So tell me again how that's helping family farms? So here's the pattern, right? Trade wars cripple markets. Bailouts feed the giants. Deregulation lets agribusiness hike costs. And the small guys, they drown. Then right on time, the billionaires show up with open checkbooks. Corporations expand and politicians spin it as bad luck, or the market. But every so-called accident clears the board for the same winners. So no, this isn't just economics, it's politics. This is design. Trump stood on stage and called himself the farmer's guy, but his policies greased the slide that pushed family farms into bankruptcy and left their land ripe for billionaires to grab. Bananas, soybeans, now farmland, different product, same empire. The only coincidence that
Well, the Democrats were right again, and it turns out the farmers of Iowa are completely shit out of luck, specifically because they voted for Trump, okay? Because his policies have double fucked them, okay? Starting with USAID. Now, you might say, why would USAID be connected to the farmers of Iowa? Well, turns out the USAID was one of their most reliable customers. We were spending up to $2 billion every year buying soybeans from them and then shipping them overseas to feed poor, starving children. Until our Christian president got in office and he said, "What?
Has anybody figured out where our bumper crop of soybeans are going? Yeah, because this administration has messed things up so badly with China. China goes, yeah, keep your soybeans, we're good. The biggest buyer in the world of soybeans has said, don't worry about it, we're good. So why doesn't somebody tell me or tell the U.S. farmers that are bringing in all these soybeans, tell them what they're going to do with them? Somebody needs to come up with a plan and like really, really quick. Because guess what? China said, thanks, but no thanks. So where are all these soybeans going to go? Does anybody know? Does anybody care? Because I'm sure the farmers are freaking out right now because they have a bumper crop of soybeans that, nobody wants. At least China doesn't want. And China's the biggest, largest buyer. I mean, we could be selling the small countries, but it's not going to put a dent in the soybeans that we have.
Soybean farmers in Arkansas are begging for help from the Trump administration. China has reserved exactly 0 of their crops for purchase behind Trump's unprovoked tariff war. And I'll give you 3 things about it. Thing number 1. Oh, now y'all want socialism. I get it. Handouts for white farmers, good. SNAP benefits for poor black kids, bad. After decades of subsidies that disproportionately went to white farmers, now you want the government to jump in and save you once again? I think it's time to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Thing number 2, your loss, J.D. Vance's gain. The couch cushion Casanova was an early investor in a startup called Acre Traders. They buy up fractional portions of U.S. farmland. This makes your vice president uniquely positioned to capitalize off of all these distressed farms. It's almost as if they have a vested interest in standing by and watching your farm fail. Thing number 3. Where the fuck did all those red hats go? Y'all still them boys or nah? Out of all these images coming out of these farmer prayer sessions, I haven't seen one stitch of MAGA regalia. It's funny how all the merch disappears when he's not targeting immigrants and black folk. I guess the cult meeting got canceled when reality showed up. At the end of the day, this is the perfect case of reaping what you sow, but in this instance, the harvest is bitter. But what do you think? Should these farmers get bailed out, or should we just send our warmest thoughts and tariffs? Drop a comment, like, follow, and share. Click the link in my bio and find me on YouTube.
On today's episode of FAFO, farmers are again asking for help.
This is not your ordinary farm crisis. We call it Farmageddon, and it really is tough time.
So you guys are calling it Farmageddon. Real estate investors are calling it Farmapalooza, as they can't wait for you to foreclose on your property and then come in and buy your property for pennies on the dollar. And the rest of us that didn't vote for this administration are calling it I told you so Cella. And let's hear what one of the farmers have to say about this.
Our bill collectors want money now. The chemicals, the seed companies, the fertilizer companies, they need it now. They don't want to hear, oh, I'm waiting on a farm bill payment that's going to come 2 years from now. They don't want to hear that.
Unless money comes now, it's projected up to 1/3 of Arkansas farmers could face bankruptcy or be forced to shutter their operations.
Now, I have a couple of suggestions that actually might help you in this situation. 1, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. 2, cut back on the avocado toast. 3, enjoy less Starbucks. 4, perhaps find a part-time job. And 5, cut back on your subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu. And it looks like all these farmers have a very similar solution as to what can fix their problems.
Haney hopes if the right person hears his message, it'll spark a positive outcome before it's too late.
77% of farmers voted for President Trump. And all we're asking for President Trump and this administration do is take care of the farm.
And by take care, they mean another government handout. Which is really weird and ironic because since 77% of you guys voted for this, you guys should be happy with what you got. Because of the policies and the executive orders that he enacted, you guys are suddenly freaking out even though this is what you voted for, but for some reason you guys aren't putting the blame on him. Because you guys are always, socialism is bad until you guys need it, and then you're like, no, it's good for me, but not for you. And the really, really ironic part is that they need help now, but in that big, beautiful bill that was signed, they're actually going to get help at the end of 2026.
Yo, in today's episode of As the White Hood Turns. So, we've all heard that the job numbers came in, right? And only 22,000 jobs were added. And we all know Syphilitic Sid has said that maybe there won't be any numbers for at least 2, maybe 3 years until we can, get the numbers right. Whatever that means. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Did y'all see them farmers in Arkansas who are now begging Syphilitic Sid to help them? They are asking for a bailout. And I don't understand if they don't understand that a bailout is basically welfare for farmers. Now, mind you, I got no issues with farmers, right? Because without them, we wouldn't have, cabbages, broccoli, whatever, vegetables, right? Right, green beans, vegetables, tomatoes, whatever. But the fact that these people all voted overwhelmingly for Syphilitic Sid, now they're asking him to bail them out. And you know what he said? We're going to have to see how it goes. Because, there are more important issues. Like that $200 million ballroom. And that plane, apparently, that they still are trying to figure out what to do with that and how to renovate it,
You know what really gets me? Trump talking about how we're losing farmers, we don't have enough manpower in the fields. Baby, who do you think was in the fields? Who was farming? Who was harvesting?
These Republican voting farmers are finding out the hard way. Caleb Ragland grows soybeans in Kentucky. He's voted for Trump every election since 2016. And now, he calls the current crisis Farmageddon. Why is he calling it Farmageddon? Because Trump's trade war shut down their biggest customer, China. Soybeans used to be a $25 billion export. Now they're sitting in bins unsold while Brazil cashes in. And Caleb's not alone. Eric Yukin, a 7th-generation farmer in Iowa, with 750 acres of corn and 600 of soybeans, also voted for Trump in 2024. I didn't anticipate it being as bad as it is, he says. You didn't remember Trump screwing you guys over his last presidency? The funniest quote he says is that it's kind of the government that's put us in this situation. Eric, you don't say. He says pigs and cattle are keeping his farm afloat, barely. But there's no clear plan from DC. Just a maybe later bill that won't help until next year. This year's crop is rotting. We don't know what's happening day to day, Yukin says. Man, what a great guy to vote for. Someone that you have no idea what he'll screw up next. The last time we had bailouts was to buy future votes. Now, it doesn't matter anymore, he says. Ding, ding, ding. We got a winner, Eric. Trump's not coming to save you. He got what he wanted. Power, attention, money, and chaos. While you got tariffs, bankruptcy, and empty silos. And now that the votes are in and the markets are gone, he's moving on. While you're still out in the field waiting for a harvest that has nowhere to go. I hope you like soybeans, because there's going to be plenty of leftovers for you to eat.
Breaking news. MAGA farmers across the United States are crying and complaining about the Chinese not buying their products. What? Yes. The MAGA farmers across the United States are complaining, those that grow soybeans, beef, pork, wheat, corn, fruit, and vegetables, dairy, are all complaining. I think they're whining. I think they want to bail out. What do you all think? I don't think bail them out. I think F around and find out. FAFO, yes, sir. It is estimated that the Chinese now have canceled 26 billion with a B, dollars of contracts that they were going to purchase from U.S. farmers. They're not going to purchase from U.S. farmers now. They're purchasing it from the Russians, from Central and South America, countries and from Canada to fill the needs that the United States farmers would have provided. But because of Donald Trump's tariffs, it's not going to happen now. So you know what? You voted for him. You get the tariffs. He told you he was going to do the tariffs. We are not going to use our tax dollars to bail them out. No. They use the tax dollars to bail out the rich, and I'm opposed to it. What do you think? Bail out these MAGA farmers that voted for Trump? I say, you know what? You lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. You voted for him. You voted for it. He told you he's going to do it. Now you get to suffer the consequences. FAFO. No bailout for any of these whining farmers that voted the wrong way. Suffer the consequences. Love to know what my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. No bailouts. Period.
Trump has been doing this thing where he sets the house on fire and then puts it out, and we all supposed to clap. And the more times he starts more fires, the less time we have the ability to capture exactly what's going on.
Especially
so it's just flooding with all this culture war. You know, the trade war shit that just happened. Donald Trump just started the dumbest and shortest trade war of all time, and he's getting credit like he won something because it's so.
He didn't get anything. Literally.
Trump, via executive order, threatened tariffs and imposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, our three biggest trade partners by like a long run. He did 25% on all imports from Mexico and Canada. Oil and energy from Mexico and Canada is tariffed at 10%, and he did 10% on all imports from China. He says we're gonna do all that. I'm like, why? This nigga talks about, you know, the fentanyl and the migrants are coming in, and Canada and Mexico isn't doing it.
If I'm being asked to invest, I have to ask myself, what are the long-term prospects? You know, what's the upside? Show me the brochure, because the brochure that I got tells me that the privatization of America's farmland, the consolidation and the corporatization of America's heartland is something that's been moving only in one direction. And the people with the ability to stop it are the same people who it's helping. That doesn't seem like a sound investment.
This is Arkansas grown.
BJ Haney is a fifth-generation farmer who works nearly 5,000 acres in the region. His primary crops are soybeans and rice.
We produce more acres of rice in Arkansas than any other state in the United States.
This is one of my unplanted fields right here. I'm not able to sell anything off this field. This field should be lush full of soybeans right now, but it's not.
This was the sentiment at the National Cotton Council meeting in rural Arkansas, where future farm funding in President Donald Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill was the hot topic.
I don't see anything that's beautiful about the whole bill.
This is not your ordinary farm crisis. We call it Farmageddon, and it really is tough times.
77% of farmers voted for President Trump. And all we're asking for President Trump and this administration to do is take care of the farmers that feed the world.
Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September is upon us. Harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field.
And now, not only are we getting a real life lawsuit, but a plea for a bailout.
Lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere. In the short term, they have no choice but to mail us a check. I don't know a farmer that likes the check program. Nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars, but nobody wants to go broke. Nobody wants to lose everything. Long term, we have to have options, markets, and places to sell our product.
Why he sound like me asking for money as a teenager? Yeah, Mama, I just... We have no choice. We have no choice but to help me out of this situation, because if I don't get my car fixed, then I can't go to work and I can't reach my full potential. And really, it makes everything that you have done wasteful, because my life would have been destroyed. So, you know what I mean? So you really got to give me this money to help me get my car fixed. And then some more after that, because I'm not going to spend that first money that you give me on my